Welcome to this Mission Sonlight Extra.
It's my honor to welcome our guest today to our studio. It is Arun Gandhi. Dr. Gandhi, thank you for being here. You are the co-founder and chairman of the Gandhi Global Center for Peace. And notably, you spent a couple of years in the final years of your grandfather's life, Mahatma Gandhi, with him, learning from him. And he found in the experience and story of the Sermon on the Mount inspiration in his work. I wonder if you could share with our audience a little more about that and more about your experience with your grandfather.
Yeah, I think it happened much earlier in his life when he realized that in Hinduism we have the caste system where there was a lot of prejudice and hate against people who are considered low caste people. And that was his first encounter with hate and prejudice in religion. And so he felt that he needed to read about the other religions of the world and see if they are any better or worse than what we are. And so he began this whole process of reading the scriptures from every different religion. And he found that the Sermon on the Mount came closest to his way of thinking at that time. And he was very impressed by it. And in fact, at some point in his life, he was very seriously thinking about becoming a Christian too. But when he found that there was similar hate and prejudice within Christianity also, and he found that the people who were following Christianity were not really living according to the Sermon on the Mount, he turned away from it. And once there was a priest who asked him about this, and he said, if you are so impressed by the Sermon on the Mount, why don't you become a Christian? And he said, the day you can convince me that all Christians live according to the Sermon on the Mount, I will be the first one to change. And I think that's basically what he found when he studied all the different religions, that we read the scriptures, but we don't live it, we don't follow it. And that was something that he couldn't accept.
So he set a precedent, a legacy that is still being felt in the world today, and in part that is through the Gandhi Global Center for Peace. Tell me about that.
Yeah, well, these are small steps that we have taken, Gandhi Global Center for Peace, to promote his thinking and his philosophy. And especially my own experience during my lifetime has been that people have not really understood his philosophy in totality. They've only looked at his philosophy as a way of resolving conflicts, because he used it in India to gain independence for India, and Dr. Martin Luther King later used it in this country to get civil rights for this country. And so they have that impression that this is just for a political conflict resolution, and it's a weapon of choice that you can use it if you don't want to, or, if you want to, or discard it if you don't want to. And my understanding of his philosophy is that it's not a weapon. It's not something that you use and discard. It is something you have to live. You have to understand and make it a part of your life. Because as I was saying, the culture of violence that we have created has dominated so many aspects of our life. And if we don't transform that culture of violence to a culture of nonviolence, we will never be able to create peace in the world. We cannot, be crisis managers and just look at when a crisis occurs that we try to suppress that crisis and think that everything is taken care of. Everything still continues to be violent. So, we have to look deep into ourselves and our attitudes and our relationships and the way we live and the kind of societies we have created. And I think that the worst part of our lifestyle is materialism. We have become so materialistic, and I'm not talking just about the United States, but all over the world. Materialism has become the only way of life. And materialism and morality have an inverse relationship. When one increases, the other decreases. So the more materialistic a society is, the less moral it is. And that means that there is a lot more conflict.
Okay. Thank you for being here today. I'm wondering, we have an audience of some 500,000 Christians. If you were giving us just one pinpoint message, what would that be? What would you want to share with our audience?
Well, I would say learn to live according to the Sermon on the Mount. The Sermon on the Mount has a tremendous message for a peaceful society. And if we really incorporate the teachings of the Sermon on the Mount in our lives, we will understand what Jesus meant by peace.
Thank you very much. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for this Mission Sunlight Extra.